Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Spiral Flies here, and been gone a while. Sorry about that. Real life got in the way of my sim flying, which is unfortunate, but as you know, it sometimes happens. Anyway, back in the sim, and everything is updated, including a few graphics tweaks here and there. So everything is good to go. We do a lot of sim soaring on this channel, and I thank all the new subscribers for finding me, but I always assume when someone subscribes to the channel that it's because they want to learn how to soar in Flight Simulator, and that's what I love to do. It's what I love. I love the jet jockeys. They can do what they want to do on Twitch and all that, but I much prefer flying a glider by hand, making sure that I'm feeling the plane and doing what is in my power to do to be able to keep it in the air. And to me, that's pure flying, and that's why I love gliders so much. So we're going to continue that today. And before we dive in, I just want to remind you that I am not a glider expert. I am just an enthusiastic fan who loves to soar more than fly a jet or sometimes even a prop. But I'm not a CFI. I have done it solo in real life, so I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about, but I am always open to critiques and suggestions about how to better communicate it, things I may have stated incorrectly, or what have you. But in any case, today's video is a simple one. We're just going to look at how do you get your glider in the air. For a lot of first-time gliders, that's really a challenge. Even in a flight sim, when it's supposed to be easy, you can just sit down at your desk and do stuff. Well, gliders are a little bit tricky because there's 4 ways that a glider can get into the air. We're going to talk about 3 of them in this video. A lot of what they do are based on what the aircraft is capable of. So that's why we're only going to talk about 3 of them. Now, we're flying out of my home airport, which is Kilo Delta November Alpha, which is Santa Teresa Airport, just west of El Paso, Texas. It's actually in New Mexico, and you can see some of the live traffic. That's literally like right on the international border where the United States and Mexico are separated. Sorry, a little brain dead there. All right, so let's talk about the glider. Now, I fly, and in this video, we've been using the Discus 2C. And the reason we use the Discus is because it's freeware. You can go to Got Friends and download it. You can go to, in fact, if you're going to download it, you'd better do it quick, because they're going to start selling. Got Friends has posted on their Discord that they're only going to be allowing sales in the marketplace. Now, that means you'll probably be able to get it in the marketplace, but go grab it if you haven't already. There is a payware version of the Discus that includes an FES system, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, but you don't need it. We're not flying with it in these videos. What I'm flying with are free planes. And you can see another one we're going to talk about here in the same screen, which is this the DR400 Asobo Studio modification that's been made to become a tow plane. But we're going to talk about the Got Friends version. And the first thing we've got to do is we've got to configure it. So let's launch into the configuration tab and make sure that you understand what your options here for launching your glider are. There is a launch method button that brings up whatever options you have on your screen. Now, if you're just into soaring for the first time, you probably only have one of these options, and it's the Asobo Cessna 172 Skyhawk. It'll work. It's not great. It flies straight and does not climb very fast, but it will get you into the air. There are 2 better options. One of them is available on flightsim.to, and I'll put a link into the description, which is the Robin DR400. It is not a plane you climb into. It is a plane that has been prepared so that it can act as a tow plane, which is why it is clearly marked as a tow plane. You can't climb in this in the flight simulator and expect to fly it. There are other versions of that plane available where you can, but this is the tow version. The one I'm going to be using, and the one I like best, is called the Got Friends tow plane. It's based on the Wilga, which is a separate purchase on the Got Friends website or the Microsoft Marketplace, if and when you're listening to this. I don't remember where this came from. It came with one of my Got Friends gliders. I don't know if it was the AS-33 or maybe even the Discus. But in any case, if you get the Got Friends tow plane, use it. It's a much better aircraft to get you into the air. It will tow you very quickly, and it actually makes turns. The Robin is a wonderful plane. It will get you up into the air fast. In fact, keeping up with it can be a headache, but I've not seen it turn yet. Maybe they've got a turn built into the programming, but it just does straight tows, and its main job is to get you into the air fast. So you have to actually work to keep up with the plane. But for this video, we're going to be using the Got Friends tow plane based on the Wilga. So that's what you're going to see. And we're not going to use the Wilga right away. We're going to take other options first. Now, I'm going to show you the other things first, and then we'll do the tow last of the three options that we're going to take a look at. So, how does a glider get into the air? We've already discussed the self-launch capability, which this glider does not have, so I'm not going to show it to you. But if you have the AS-33, pop the propeller out, hit the gas, and go. And you're in the air. That's great, but the Discus does not have that. Not even the FES version. The FES version is designed to save you if you get low. It's not designed to get you off the ground from elevation 0. So, what are your options? Well, there's the Aero tow, which obviously we've been talking about because there are tow planes that have to be involved. And being aero towed is formation flying. If you do it in real life, it's a challenge. It's stressful, because people can die. If you don't do your tow right, you can kill the tow pilot, you can kill yourself. It's very, very dangerous, and it's probably the most nerve-wracking you'll do in real life. And it's actually really good practice for you to learn how to fly it anyway. So that's why I always prefer to take a tow, even in the sim. And the other way to get up into the air is via a winch. And a winch can be tricky because you have to be in the wind. So you see I set up a 270 knot wind out of the west. We'll be flying off runway 28, and that's close enough. But very often, if you're in Flight Sim 24 and you hit the winch command and it doesn't move, check your windage, because you're probably not set up nearly enough into the wind, and the logic in the sim won't work if the wind doesn't align with your intended takeoff pattern. So let's go flying. The last way, of course, that you can get up in the air, and we're going to start with that, is by the simple slew, because, you know, this is a simulator. It's not real life, so you can take a slew. So while we're setting up here and you can see the runway, we've got some nice soaring weather set up, some nice cumulus clouds, light wind out of the west. Our Wilga's set up, our wing runners ready to go, except we're not going to use them right now. Now my view is all cattywampus on the Discus, so let me get that reset here real quickly. I'm going to have to do this every time we restart our flight, so sorry about that. And one of these days I'll get that fixed, but this is real life sim flying, folks. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dismiss the tow plane. We're going to do that by pushing the tow release. And we see the green cable release button, and you see the wings tilt down as our wing runner disappears. So he's gone. See, told you, he's gone. Oh, while we're at it, we'll close our spoilers. We're not going to need them now. So the first way to get up into the air is by slewing. Now, we're going to start with that because it's just the easiest way to do it. If you're going to do a lot of glider flying, when you set up your controls for glider flying, I have a VKB Gladiator NXT Evo joystick, and it's kind of a HOTAS setup. It's very complicated, but it works for soaring. It's what I use to fly everything, because I have a racing wheel instead of a yoke. So that's fine. I wouldn't fly a glider with a yoke anyway. But when you set up that control system, make sure to include on a hat switch or a switch somewhere on that device, or whatever device you're using, set up a slew command because you want to be able to slew up at the push of a button, literally. So here's how you slew it. I've got it set to a button on my joystick. It's just the bottom hat on my joystick, and I activate slew mode by pushing it in. Now notice I move immediately to external view, and in my configuration, the way I've set it up, when I hit the up button in that same hat switch, I start slewing upward. Okay, and that's how you slew. It's real simple, and it works. It's not realistic, but it works. There is one little gotcha you need to know about slewing, and that is go higher than you think you need to go. Why? Because, we'll stop here, you don't want to slew above the cloud base, that's for sure. But what's our airspeed right now? 0. So what happens when we get out of slew mode? We dive immediately. So here we go. Back stick, and you're flying. So that gave us our altitude now is 7,450. So there you go. That's the height of a good tow. And we can go off and find our thermals and have a nice flight. So nothing wrong with slewing. It's cheating, but sometimes you just want to get into the air, and that works. So what's the next method? We're going to restart our flight. We're going to go back to our original setup, and now we're going to talk about winches. So a winch tow is really, really unusual. We're going to dismiss the Wilga again, and we're going to go down. Now, the winch tow, what makes the winch tow so tricky is that there is a device at the other end of the runway, which is usually a gigantic winch, high-speed winch, and it's mounted to a truck. It's funny. There was a version of a Cybertruck winch in the Got Friends discussions. I don't have it. I haven't seen it, but you may come across the Cybertruck winch. Anyway, there's a lot of different winch variations that will show up. I think you can even download a few of them off flightsim.to. But in the Discus, and one of the reasons it's such a great plane is that it's got a built-in winch, and you access it by coming down to the bottom left of the flight computer, the LX 9000, and you turn your page wheel to the left 4 times, or 4 clicks. 3, 4. And you go to this global settings page. Now, everybody asks and wonders about this multiplayer tow button. Theoretically, that's so that your friend who is flying in a regular plane can tow you up in the air. It doesn't seem to be implemented in Flight Sim 2024. None of us have been able to figure out how to make it work, and it frustrates a lot of new folks. So unfortunately, it's not going to be an option for you until Asobo and Microsoft figure out how to figure that out. The button you want here is Request Launch. Now, see the Wilga up in front of us? As soon as I click this button, he's gone. And we're straight up. Notice how it straightened us up? So what you're going to want to do here, you're going to want to check and make sure, oh, we have our wing runner back. Okay, that's why we're level. And we are going to move back to the regular page, and we are ready to go. Now, you want to make sure your spoilers are in. Ours are in. You don't want them now. They are not your friend here. Now, the purpose of the winch is that when you signal you're ready to go, they start the winch and it yanks you very quickly. So things happen very quick. And what you need to do is pull back on the stick and let the winch pull you upward at approximately a 45-degree angle. And then as you're going, you kind of want to decrease the angle because you're moving in an arc and you don't want to overstress the winch or the plane. So you'll kind of pitch forward, and we'll just do one. I am not an expert in these, but here we go. We're going to show you a winch launch. The way you initiate is you waggle your rudders, same as a tow plane. So we're going to waggle the rudder, and here we go. Things move real fast. All right, we're moving. Okay, keep it level, and we're up in the air, 45-degree angle. See? Yep. Look how fast we're going up. Now I'm going to move it a little bit down. We're pitching forward, pitching forward, pitching forward, pitching forward. You want to keep it up. You have to know where the end of the glider is, and we've ended. So you release the cable, and now we're only at 5,700 feet, but we're flying. Now you also have to make sure you get your gear up here too. I always winch tow with your gear down, just because winch cables can break, at least in real life. So you always assume you're going to have to land very quickly, and one thing you don't want to think about is the gear. Once you get up in the air and you're off the winch, then you can move up your gear. All right, so we've covered aero tow, or we've covered everything but the aero tow. We've covered winch, we've covered the self-launch, and we've covered the slew. There's only one other way, and it's the most complicated, to launch. So let's talk about it, and let's do one. So we're going to restart our flight again. We're going to go back to runway 28 at Kilo Delta November Alpha, and we are going to do an aero tow. This time, we're not going to dismiss our Wilga. Let me reset him here. Now, this is really important. You have to be able to see the tow plane at this juncture. Now that would be up too high. That's kind of cheating. This is really the vantage point I like to be at. Right about, there we go. That's just about perfect, because this is more or less what you would be seeing when you were in a real life situation. So before we launch our plane, let's talk about this one more time. Our spoilers are in, so we're good. Everything else is ready to go. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, a tow plane pulling a glider is formation flying. You are connected by a cable, or basically a rope. There is a detachable end on either side of the rope. If you get out of control, the tow plane can drop you by dropping the cable. And then when you drop the cable, you're going to be punished by your glider club of going to find and retrieve the cable that you've lost somewhere off of the property. So you don't want that to happen. As I said, glider pilots can and have been killed by tow plane pilots, can and have been killed by glider pilots who don't fly the tow correctly. It is an extremely dangerous thing to do. It can be fun. It can be challenging. It can be, some things that they do are actually part of your checkout when you're going to get your pilot's license as a glider. But it's very stressful and it's very dangerous. Your goal is to keep the tow plane exactly where it is right now, directly in front of you, and keep yourself directly behind the plane. Now, some people would think, well, that's going to mean you're in the prop wash. You're actually not. The prop wash is going below you when you're flying in this configuration in real life. So you don't really have to worry about the prop wash as you're going. But when you turn, and you're going to see a turn happen, you have to fly coordinated and maintain this exact same relational position with the tow plane as you turn, with a completely different style of aircraft. It is very stressful, but it's also very cool. Now, in real life, they charge you by how many minutes of tow plane time you're using. So you want to get up into the air as efficiently as you can and get off of it as quickly as you can. So one way to check this out is to be monitoring your thermals, and you'll kind of hear, even though you're on tow, which is generating what the computer will determine is a thermal, I like to listen to the variometer whistling or chirping, because that'll tell me where it might be nice lift when I get off. All right, So let's fly in formation. We're going to take off first, but we want to, as soon as we get off the ground, we want to stay low. Then as soon as the plane starts taking off, then we can raise our gear. All right, so it's time to go. One final check of the craft. We know we're okay, but we'll just do this and get ready to go. And waggle the rudders. You can hear them squeaking back there. And we're off. Now, it's not going to be quite as wild as the winch, but it is pretty wild. So we're rolling. Now, we've lost the wing runner. We're going faster than he can run. So you have to stay behind him. Keep the wings level with your aileron. And there we go. Steer with your rudder. 55. We're airborne, but the Wilga's not, so notice I'm slipping out to the side. I don't want to do that. He's climbing fast. So back stick, back stick. I got to go get him. You can hear the chirping of the thermals. See how it kind of varies? Well, that's mostly due to the Wilga, but we want to keep him in view, keep our tow plane in view. It's okay if he gets a little obscured like this, but this is where we want to be for the duration of our tow. Now, the winds are light today, and the thermal activity is somewhat light, so this is actually a pretty easy tow so far. It can get hairy. Put a crosswind in there, put some heavy thermal activity in there. Whoo boy, it can be a little nuts. Now, if you want to kind of do a little cheating, you can kick your view up just slightly and raise your view. But this is what it's like when you're sitting in a real glider. It can be kind of challenging to see the tow plane. In flight sim, they fly smooth and straight. Well, in real life, that tow plane's bouncing all over the place. And keeping him right in this position can be really tricky. So we're near the train yard. That means we're going to have a turn here in a little bit. Our altitude is, we're just over 5,000. Uh-oh, there we go. I lost him while I was looking at the altimeter. This is not my favorite altimeter. Everybody says it's really good altimeter. I'm used to the U.S. general aviation altimeters. All right, now he's begun a gentle turn. You want to maintain the wing angle, and then you have to use your rudder to stay in behind him. You can't use too much rudder because then you'll fly inside of him. So notice how we're matching his wing angle here? That's what you want to do. Now I'm a little inside of him. There we go. So that's a little better. Now I'm a little outside of him. But this is how you fly a tow. We're coming up on 6,000 feet, not there yet. So since our elevation on the ground is just over 4,100, then we really want to be off by 6,100, which is 2,000 AGL, which is good because I'm kind of a little out of sorts here. Now he's made a full 180. The runway's right below us. We have clouds around us. We've just passed 6,000. So we're good to go and we're ready to release. Before we release, gliders go to the right, tow planes go to the left. Now, in flight sim, they just go straight, but you hit the release and turn right. So we are released, we turn right, the tow plane goes away, and it's time to go soaring and find some thermals. That, my friends, is how you get up into the air in a glider in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So you can do it by an aero tow, which I prefer, and is actually really good practice of flying in formation. There is a thing in the aero tow that you can do called boxing the wake that is actually a skill that you need to do, is use your rudders and your stick to move around in a box around the perimeter of the plane such that you create a box around the wake. That's why they call it boxing the wake. And it's a great little demonstratable skill that shows you can command the aircraft and control it through such a maneuver such as that. It's a lot of fun to try. And you can do a winch tow, you can slew, or you can self-launch. Those are the ways you can get up high in the air in a glider. I'm Spiral Flies. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I'm going to be looking at a new JS3 pretty quick, which I understand is coming our way, and I've heard that it's going to be a freeware plane, and it looks or sounds promising based on what I've heard about it. So, look forward to talking to you soon. Safe flights, my friends. Happy thermaling.